Hello book fans, this is a review of the autobiography of Billy Connolly, and this is windswept and interesting. So this takes you right through his entire life and quite a few stories he has. So you probably know him from TV's films, or even more likely from his hilarious stand-up comedy, where apparently he just rocks up and he just says it all off the top of the head. He doesn't even prepare any of it. So yeah, pretty legendary comic, and his life story is no less legendary. Now, I don't normally read autobiographies, I try and avoid them like the plague, but I did watch his documentary, which was on the telly, because he's had his recent diagnosis of Parkinson's. So I found his documentary was interesting. It's a good kind of primer for this book, and I think that's why I'm reading the book now, because of that documentary. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have bothered, and I probably wouldn't have carried on reading right through it if it wasn't written well and of interesting narrative. So to give you a flavour of it, I'll just read you a little extract from the start. So this is page 1 here, and he summarises a few things. 1. Do what makes you happy. Be what makes you happy. If others disagree, tell them to rearrange these words to make a popular phrase. Yourself, fuck, go. So, I mean, it really starts out really bombastic, actually. Like his first sentence is, I like being naked in public. So yeah, he discovered this when he was 4 years old. But we can go on. It starts off with it roughly goes in chronological order. So it goes through his childhood, his troubled childhood. He had quite a few adversaries in those who parented him, because his mother left at an early age. So he's left with his dad and his aunts were just a nightmare. His dad, there's other issues there with his dad as well. So there is a lot of complicated information, but it's also light-hearted as well. So it's not all doom and gloom, despite having some pretty serious content, as well as the Parkinson's, which he blends in through the book, to culminate in the latter phases. You've got the illnesses of age that he comes up against, and he talks a bit about those as well. But he does it all really well. He approaches it without bringing down the mood too much, while tackling some serious issues. So he doesn't dismiss them as a joke. He does treat them seriously, but with a bit of a joke as well, which some might see as being inappropriate, but as he's the one that's suffering from these illnesses, it's his perspective, therefore it's not inappropriate, it's his experience, and that's what we're reading this book for. I found it really interesting because being a northerner, while I'm not as northern as a Scotch person, he's a little bit further north, but I thought it's interesting some of the experiences he's had. They are a little bit similar, but not at all similar as a whole, his experience. But I could relate to a lot of the stuff he was saying about the kind of the scene in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, I don't remember those times, but there was hangover into my childhood of the way things were. And one of the things, actually this comes from work, is he worked on the shipyards, and he talked. This is an image here with him at the shipyard with a chain in the background, because they got lifted up in buckets. And I remember when I was working offshore, and these poor buggers were in buckets getting lifted past the window, and you're trying to advise them on when it's safe and when it's not safe to do that, and you're like, it's really close to limits, and these poor buggers are out there. It's like, oh Jesus. So yeah, and very, very dangerous work, especially back then. The safety protocols weren't nearly as good as they are now. So he talks about a lot of accidents, and lives that got lost in the work that he did. But essentially, he moved onwards into like the folk music industry through his banjo playing. He did a bit of sports. He's done a bit of everything really. He's been all over, and he comes from obviously comes from Glasgow, but he also moved to London. So it takes into account those cities as well as abroad over to where he is presently in America. So it's all USA. So it all adds a little bit of a flavour to his general kind of experience in life and his unique view. He also has I talked about illnesses, but he also had trouble with the alcohol as well. And although he doesn't go super deep into that, he does nevertheless do it a little bit of justice. Ideally, I would have liked a little bit more on that and exactly how, but I suppose the thing is, when you get older, you don't always remember the mechanisms of these things, and some things, as he rightly says, are hazy from the alcohol because of the period. So it's no wonder that it's not as good as maybe someone who's writing one of those extracts from a more recent memory. But overall, it's very easy to read. The wording is quite large enough. It's not overly large, and there's about 300. Nearly 400 pages worth. Won't take you very long to read it all because it's very interesting, and it is a page turner. So for me, it didn't take me long at all. I've been reading a few books, so I don't know. Maybe I've spent a few days on this one, but it's a very nice read. And what have I marked out here? Is there another good bit? Oh yeah. Here's another section which is interesting. I sometimes stray into political incorrectness, and I care not a jot. Sounds like my dad. Comedians always walk a tightrope regarding political correctness, even more so in an era of so-called cancel culture. So it's very interesting how he talks about how difficult it is for comedians when they have to deal with political correctness. Some of them have to kind of tiptoe around it, other ones face it head on. Himself and another Scotch comedian I can think of do that, and people like it or don't like it because of that. So yeah, it's good to read that kind of perspective, for sure. But for me, I don't think it was too bad, that chapter, because normally you think as soon as an old person says political correctness, they're going to go on a rant. Because for me, I've kind of had enough of this people saying I can't say what I want. But Billy Connolly's the opposite. He's like, I say what I want, so what? And quite rightly so. Who's stopping him? Nobody's stopping you from being politically incorrect. It's whether you have the right kind of reasoning. Exactly, is there a right reasoning? It's complicated, but I'd say it depends on how you're being politically incorrect. If you're harming people through your political incorrectness, whatever that is, because it takes a broad range of topics and what people perceive as being. I don't even want to talk about it. Why did I label that? Christ on a bike. But yeah, he's had a lot of experience. He was in Lord of the Rings. I don't even remember that. But I don't doubt what he says as well. I know he's got Parkinson's and that. But the way it's written is very Billy. So that's another thing I didn't touch on that so far. That it's written, although it's chronologic, he kind of dances around. He goes backwards and forwards at certain sections because they're all relevant to whatever he's talking about at the time. So there's a little bit of crossover where you go backwards in times, but you can forgive Billy for that because that is his style on stage, as he says, and he just goes off on and meanders and gets distracted by stuff. But I don't think this has that in clarity of distraction. I think it's a very considering the illness he's suffering from, it's quite focused, and it's obviously been transcribed by his kids. His kids did a transcription and edited very well indeed, so it reads very nice as a book. So yeah, do I recommend you read it? Obviously I do. It's great. And actually I didn't say the central theme. Well, the one thing that annoys me is actually windswept and interesting, which is not how I'm dressed today. That's not why I'm dressed like this. This is about Stephen Fry's book, Fry's tie. I tied a Windsor knot basically. But yeah, this is about windswept and interesting is a kind of attitude of behaviour, like how you dress and how you have swagger kind of thing. It's that kind of pirate dress, devil may care kind of attitude of wearing whatever you want and trying to looking vibrant and accept, because it's about trying first and then being, I suppose. But yeah, it's a very good read. Overall, I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was funny, and it also had some poignant facts in there and life experiences, which obviously you don't want to experience, but there's a probability that you will at some point. So it's always good to be reading what Sir Billy's experience has been. So overall, it's a very good book, and I would give it at least a 4 out of 5. Maybe I'd touch it up to a 4.5 out of 5, because it's an autobiography. It's going to be whether you're interested in reading about Sir Billy or not. If you are interested about reading Sir Billy, I'd say read it. If you like Billy Connolly as a comedian, read it. If you just want to read about somebody who has led an interesting life, has done lots of crazy things, including a naked bungee jump, there's an image in here of him naked bungee jumping, then definitely get it. I borrowed this from my dad. You could get it from the library, it is out there, but a lot of people are trying to reserve it, but definitely read it no matter how you get hold of it. But thank you very much for watching. Do drop a like and a subscribe if you found that super useful. But thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.